Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to SoulSpace podcast number 63.
63. So many good things in the
Yeah.
past 62 episodes.
Right. Yeah. So good. So today we're going to talk about time management and strategies to avoid getting overwhelmed.
Something a lot of us experience almost on a daily basis.
Right.
A lot of people talk about being overwhelmed or frustrated or like, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Or if people are feeling stuck, a lot of times that's overwhelm.
Mhm.
And they might not even recognize that's what they're feeling. And so we just kind of wanted to talk today about things that can help you, tools that can help you,
Yeah.
so that you don't feel so overwhelmed on a daily basis, and things that are easy. Because nobody wants, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you want a whole bunch of other things to do. You want things to help you get out of it.
Yeah. And there's some little tips and tricks. Sorry, I was trying to shut the ringer off on my phone because I know it'll go off if I don't. Anyway, there's just some little things that you can do to help you with trying to stay a little more organized, and the more organized you are, the less you will get flustered when you're busy and when you have a lot to get done and a lot to accomplish and a lot to remember.
Right.
If we use the tools that we have, it helps get it out of your mind and somewhere else, so you don't have to think about it constantly or worry about it.
Right. And a lot of tools can help ease that feeling. So if you're
Yeah.
already in overwhelm,
Yeah,
some of these things you can implement now, so then you can start to pull yourself out of it.
right. And if you're like me, I wait till I'm overwhelmed before I start to, okay, there's a better way to do this, but I am getting better. It only took me 60 something years to figure that out, but I do use lists once in a while now, and I do use a calendar. I have a planner thing that I do at least write things on my calendar so I know, and my phone is my best friend.
Yeah.
The calendar in my phone, I use it for everything, and it beeps at me when I'm supposed to be somewhere, and I always have time. I set my reminders. I'm really good at using that.
Yeah.
And that's helped me so much that, it just takes, and, sometimes I think, well, am I not using my memory then? But I have plenty of other stuff to remember. So that just takes one worry off my plate, that I know my phone's gonna beep when I'm supposed to be on a call or in a class or teaching a class or whatever, or picking up a grandkid or whatever. So that is really my best friend, is my phone calendar.
Right. I do the same thing, and that's one huge strategy that a lot of people don't utilize enough. Is a calendar, whether it's in your phone. In your phone is most convenient because you always have it with you. You can go, oh, what do I have that day? Or, oh, you can set the reminders. I love the reminders.
Yeah.
You can set it for the day before. If it's in the morning, you can set it for an hour before, 10 minutes before, whatever works best for you if you need to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just works so well. And for us, not only do we have our own personal calendars, but we also share one for our office.
Yeah.
And so that makes it easy for us to collaborate too. And we know when the other person is there, if we have clients or classes or whatever, so we can coordinate with one another without even having to talk if we don't want to. But of course we talk to. But
but I love it,
so
especially when we had our other office where we kind of used the same rooms together. So we didn't want to schedule. Now it's easier because we each have our own space, but when it's so much easier when you coordinate in an office environment, especially, so that you don't have to disturb someone, and in coaching and Reiki and massage and stuff like that, you like a quiet space while you're working with someone. So it's nice to have that calendar so you know what else is going on within your office. So so many technology tricks that we can use.
Absolutely. And I mean, we all have a phone in our pocket.
Yeah,
Even the
Always.
simplest phone, even the flip phones have a calendar in it.
right.
You can
Yeah.
create stuff in that calendar,
Yeah.
or go old school with a planner. I always have a planner
Yeah.
because I do more than one thing in my planner. I have not only my calendar, but I also have my lists. That's one of my favorite strategies, and that's one that can help a lot of people that they don't utilize enough.
Yeah.
Honestly, because if you have a to-do list, and you can even create different to-do lists for different things that you're doing in different projects.
Mhm.
But for me, like, consider my workplace, right? My workplace, I have to be extremely organized. It's really taught me organization, planning ahead. Like, I can't not do that. So it's been really good for me, but having a list that just says, okay, these are the things that I have to accomplish. And you can prioritize from that list, like what needs to get done first. Like maybe there's something that has a deadline.
Yeah.
So you go down your list and you have it marked 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, or you create it from the top down and you rewrite it so that it has your priorities in order, whatever you want to do. For myself, I create a list and then I go through and say, okay, these are the things that have a timeline. I'm going to do this one first. It's the most important. And then I go down my list and I mark them off as I do it. And that feels really good because then, you know, when my list gets mostly done or all the way done and I go to the next week or whatever, then I flip over and I rewrite the list and add the things to it that I need. It's really nice because then you know where you're at.
Yeah.
You know the things that you need to get accomplished and the things that you want to get accomplished. And then you know if you did them or not, because you know, we're all so busy in our lives.
Yeah.
And are you really gonna remember, did I do that? You're gonna ask yourself, did I do that?
Yeah.
And then you have to go in and check, and it wastes your time too.
Yeah.
And so to avoid wasting time and to also make sure you get things accomplished, a list is invaluable.
Yeah.
And it can be like, I write it in my planner, or you can have it on your phone. I do lists on my phone too for other things. I do. I have so many lists.
She's a list of.
But they're so useful because it's like, then I'm not writing paragraphs and stuff. I'm just going, I need to do this and this and this and this and this, and then I can check them off. It's so great. I'm like, why didn't I think of lists before? Like when I was doing homework in grad school, why didn't I just like make myself a list of what I need to accomplish rather than feeling all scattered?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it would change my life.
Yeah. 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 I get it.
I know. I know what it sounds like, but true. It's true. If you haven't tried it, you have no idea the magic of a list.
Yeah. I do them on and off. You know, I do them when I know I have a lot to accomplish, then I'll make a list. And if there are definite deadlines on some things, then I'll make a list. And I do them if we're traveling, if I'm going on a road trip, I'll make a list of the stuff I don't want to forget to bring. I'll list some things that we for sure want to stop and see on our way or whatever. You know, if there are some things that definitely want to be on our list, you know, I'll write them down. For work, I always have a list by my desk of things that I want to get accomplished. Not all of them have a deadline, so I just work on them, you know, when I have spare time. If I check something off, then I can spend some time on something that doesn't have a definite deadline. And it really does feel good when you can check those things off or cross them off. And you know, for me, if I only have a couple things left, I always make a new list then, because then I think, oh, I only have a couple things left to do. I don't need to do anything today because I'm almost done, you know. But if I know how my brain works, so I know how to trick it. And then I'll make a new list because then it looks like, oh, okay, I got to get a lot done today. And I do when I have, you know, I used to work in newspapers, so I always had deadlines. And I've learned my life has been, you know, deadlines all the time. So I'm used to working under a deadline. And if I don't have a deadline, I find that I just lollygag or, you know, just don't do anything.
And that's another piece too. Is if you have things that you need to accomplish or want to accomplish, it doesn't have to be a need. If you want to accomplish things, you need to set, okay, tomorrow I'm going to work on this. The next day I'm going to work on this. The next day I'm going to work on this, especially for people that are retired or are self-employed especially.
Yeah,
Or, might not have a set schedule for each day.
right.
If you set, okay, this is what I want to accomplish, no matter what, how much time it takes you during that day to get that accomplished, you've already set that I'm doing this tomorrow, and that gets you ready for it and focused for it. And you get through it much faster than if you were like, oh, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do tomorrow. And,
Yeah,
you kind of, like you said, lollygag and you
Yeah.
don't really set something for yourself.
yeah,
Even when I'm off, so like I have summers off. Well, kind of, I have a couple weeks off during the summer, I guess, and now I work a lot still, but
yeah,
there's things that I still want to accomplish, whether it's at my house or it's for my business or what it is. And so I said, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And then I have those things that I'm gonna accomplish for that day, and then I get them done.
yeah,
And then it's like, if I have free time after that, awesome. And I do that during work too, because I not only work full-time, but I also have my business on the side. And so I have to set aside time for, okay, this day after work, I'm gonna do this day after work, I'm gonna do that, this day after work, I'm gonna do this, on the weekend, I'm gonna do this. Because if I don't do that, it never gets done,
Right.
and then I'm not going anywhere.
yeah, yeah,
So that's another piece, is to think about making sure that you're setting for yourself what you're gonna be working on as well. So you have your tasks, you have your list of tasks, and you also have like, okay, I'm gonna work on this tomorrow, even if it's just one day at a time. At
Yeah.
least you're setting something for yourself to do, so
right.
you don't end up doing nothing, because we've all
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah, and another thing, if I can get it back, kind of flew out of my head. It'll come back, I don't know. I don't know what it was. What were you talking about?
Well, we were talking about how you gotta set tasks for yourself each day, and even if you need to set aside time, like on the calendar itself, like write it in, like I'm gonna be working on this, and this during this time, just kind of like you would for an appointment. You're
Yeah.
setting yourself appointments to
I
work on those things.
I know what it was. Sometimes you really have to schedule in some me time too.
Yeah.
If you're always working, and you're not taking time to fill yourself up or to do some things for yourself, you need to mark those on the calendar. Things like, getting your nails done, or going to get a haircut, or just pampering yourself, or having a massage or something like that, having a Reiki session or some energy work done or whatever it is. Schedule those things in too, because especially if you're busy, because that's when you need those things the most. And if you're always putting that off, then you are going to get overwhelmed easier, because you're not taking care of yourself and doing those things to help you feel good, so that you can be of good to other people. So, especially people that do this kind of work, if you're a coach or do healing work or anything like that, you tend to put yourself last a lot of times, and you're the one that needs it the most, because you're giving, and working on other people and hearing their problems and whatever, so if you don't take care of yourself, then you're gonna end up in the same boat.
Right, and then you can't help them
right.
from a space of support, because you're off
because
yourself.
you feel bad, yeah.
Mhm.
So always schedule in some of that time, if that's what you need to do to get it done. If you're always putting yourself last on the list, move it up a few spots, and so you're taking care of yourself too.
Right, even getting into a routine. I mean, routines, they always talk about how routines are important,
Right.
but they can be really useful, have a self-care routine for the morning, or have one for right after you get home from work, or have one right before you go to bed. That way, like, you always have that time set aside, and you get used to the routine, your family gets used to the routine, so then everybody feels comfortable with it, and they're not, they know, oh, well, mom's gonna go do her meditation, it's right after work. So I'll check in with her in 20 minutes, stuff like that, where people get used to you having that time set aside, you get used to having that time set aside, it just becomes second nature, so that you're still taking care of yourself.
Yeah. I have a friend that has 3 kids, and they're all grown now, but when she started meditating, she used to make a little space in her bedroom closet, and that was her meditation room, and she would shut the door, and her kids knew If mom's in the closet, I can't, unless someone's bleeding or something like that, I can't open that door, you know, and because she needs that time and it just worked that way. It was so good for her and she got that time that she so much needed with all her busy kids and, you know, going to all the sports things and just, she needed that time to maintain and it worked well and once the kids got used to that routine and the husband,
Yeah.
they were okay with it and they knew that she was a much better mom with that time that she had.
Right, and they respect that time, and if ever, I bet you, if she ever was like, oh, I won't meditate today, they were like, go,
Yeah.
go meditate,
Get
you
in the
need
closet.
it.
Get in that closet. Yeah, yeah, and really they did, they could tell when she didn't do it, they'd be like, okay, mom, did you meditate today?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they start
Yeah.
to notice that if
Yeah.
you're not taking care of yourself, if you have for a while.
Right.
Mhm.
So, we'll just, what are some other ones that we do? The to-do list is really one of the most important things, I think.
I think it
And the
is, and
calendar.
I think it's so underutilized, and that's why people get
Yeah.
overwhelmed because, and some people get overwhelmed when they make a list.
Uh-huh.
And here's the thing. A list is only to tell you, okay, these are the things I need to get accomplished. If a list that big overwhelms you,
Right.
then have that list in one area, but then take the pieces for that day and write them down, and that'll be your list for the day. That way you
Mhm.
just have, this is what I'm doing today, and that's my bigger list, but these are my priorities. So then all
Yeah.
you see is your priorities, you get those done, and then you can move on, right?
Right.
So take it in pieces.
Yeah.
If it's too much for you. I know
Mhm.
people that they're like, a list overwhelms me, then I'm like, okay, we'll have that list. But take those pieces that you're gonna work on today, that way you're just focused on now, you're not
Mhm.
focused on all the things.
Yeah. Maybe you just put 3 things on your list for today off of your big list. Okay,
Right.
I'm gonna take the 3 priority things that I wanna get done. So put them on your short list.
But then you don't forget the
Yeah.
things on the big list.
Right.
You still have both,
Yeah.
but you have your, I'm doing
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
today.
and I've done that before. I like that because I do get overwhelmed easy and, you know, if I have a big long list, I stare at it and think, what am I gonna do? What should I do first, you know, and
Mhm.
if I just make smaller ones, it works a lot better for me.
Yeah, and that's why learning to prioritize is so important.
Yeah.
Like we said, maybe start with the things that have that time
Mhm.
line to them.
Right.
And that's where your priorities start, you know,
Yeah.
and then you're like, okay, this one's the most important. I know I need to get that done right now.
Mhm.
Okay, well then you have those 3 things that you prioritize that have a timeline. Great.
Mhm.
And then for the next day, after you finish your task, you pick 3 things, the other 3 things that you're like, okay, I know that these are important. I need to get those done too. So that'll be on my list for tomorrow.
Mhm.
Right. So you're just taking pieces, you know, I set the others one aside.
Yeah.
I'll finish that later. I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is a big thing. And that was huge for me when I started doing case management
Mm.
many years ago now. Was that, you know, I was like, I have to get this all done right now. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna finish by the end of the day. I'm gonna be here super late. And they're like, it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh. It was like a huge moment for me, like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
you're right, it will be.
Right.
And I have my notes and I just, you know, I just need to type things up.
Yeah.
It will be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I can do that in the morning before I see clients, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so it was just one of those things where it kind of flabbergasted me. Oh, yeah, it'll be
Right.
there tomorrow.
Yeah. And that's something that I had to get used to doing after being in the newspaper business for quite a few years. You know, like on there, we printed a shopper kind of thing, you know. And so one night a week, we would just do that because we had the newspaper to do every day. That was. So the night that we stayed to do the shopper thing, we would have to just stay until it was done, no matter how late it was, you know, and we just had to get that done. That was the deadline. So when I was done working in newspaper and was on my own in my own business, I had a hard time not just working all night and all day on something. and knowing that it's okay to leave that till tomorrow. I
Right.
don't have to stress about it and get it done. So it's a balance, and when you're used to working under deadlines all the time, which I would rather have a deadline because of that, but it's been harder for me to transition into not having deadlines for everything. And then, sometimes if I don't put them on a list, I don't get them done because they're not there and I don't. So
There's
sometimes
no
I make up a
deadline.
deadline. Yeah, just so I get it done,
Right, or even
and
like,
that's good.
for us, we teach classes and things.
Mhm.
So if we set a class, then we have to finish it by the time the class starts. That's what I did for
Right.
myself this last time as I was building my course
Yeah.
that starts this week.
Mhm.
Is I said, okay, I want to have this done by this date because I want to then finish this, and then I want to, I had everything set with a date. And
Mhm.
then my class starts this day, so I better have it all done by then.
Right.
It's because tickets are out. Let's go.
I know. Yeah, and there are people that don't plan ahead and then they forget to talk about some things in their class, because they haven't planned it out well enough ahead of time.
Right.
So yeah, be prepared when you're doing stuff like that, and have your lists and have your reminders. And I took a class one time from a gal, and she forgot all about it. And there were 3 of us sitting outside her door waiting for
Oh
her.
my goodness.
And we finally got a hold of her, and she had forgot that it was starting that day.
Oh my
And
God.
she came and made it, and it was fine. Everything was fine, but it was like, oh no.
It was her class.
Yeah. We all remember, but she forgot all about it.
Oh
But
my
it all
gosh.
turned out fine. We did the class and it was awesome, but it was just like that, I'm sure
If she would have
was
had it
scared
on
to
her
death.
list,
Right.
on her
Or
calendar.
calendar, yeah.
Reminder
Yeah.
an hour before, oh, I have my
Yeah.
class that I'm teaching
Right.
today.
Yeah. Yeah.
That happens. Of course, people forget things.
Yeah.
But if you use your
Yeah.
tools,
Yeah.
it'll be
you
much
won't.
easier for you, and you won't have to worry about remembering.
Mhm.
And that's another reason people get overwhelmed, is they're so worried, I'm gonna forget, I'm gonna forget, I'm gonna forget.
Yeah.
If you get it on your list, if you get it on your calendar, you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about remembering, because
Yeah.
it's there, it's waiting for you. And if you forget it, just go back to your list, go back
Right.
to your calendar,
Or look on your phone.
and you can see it all right there.
Yeah, and everybody gets those days when you feel like you're forgetting something.
Mhm.
Well, if you have it, an appointment or whatever on your phone, in your calendar, you can always look and, oh no, I'm not forgetting anything. It's all there,
Yeah.
It's just a helpful thing to have when you are all over the place.
Yeah, because our brains are constantly filled with everything, and we're constantly receiving information and
Right.
energy and things all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's really useful to give yourself some grace
Yeah.
and write it down.
Yeah,
Right.
doing that little bit of work ahead of time really can set you up for success.
Yeah, and it's relieving.
Yeah.
To make that list, because it's all there and you don't have to remember it anymore.
Mhm.
And that relieves your mind, that
Yeah.
relieves some of your overwhelm, and you're just like, okay, it's down on paper. I'm not gonna forget.
Right.
And that's a big thing too. People worry about forgetting, and then they forget things all the time. And that's overwhelming, because then they're like on more of a crunch time, and it just creates way more chaos in their lives than they need to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, we've all been there,
Right.
but you don't need to stay there.
Mhm. Yeah. And another thing besides listing is to batch things into,
Mhm.
into categories or whatever. One of the things I like to do, because I am self-employed, I like to work on, and I have different businesses that I work on at certain times, so I try to save one day for one thing, like one day to do social media posts, or one day to write blogs, or one day to, to work on a certain aspect of your business. One day to do, I like to make memes and stuff like that, so, one day to do artsy stuff. Things like that, or you know, okay, I'm gonna do this for a couple hours today. Maybe it's a half a day of each thing. But that works really well for me to just kind of batch things and if you are running different businesses at the same time, to not get mixed up in that or feel overwhelmed that you have so much. If you spend one day on each business of the week, you know,
Kind of like blocking out
right,
your time so that like that one day, it's just, that's just your focus, so you're not
Mhm.
having to shift between so much, right?
yeah,
That's what you're
yeah,
saying?
yeah. Like Tuesdays for me, it's Ruby Day and then podcast
Yeah.
in the afternoon, so that is easy. Everybody knows Tuesday's my super busy day from sun up to sundown and today I threw a Reiki client in the mix and you know, they just know, my family knows, okay, that's mom's busy day. She's not gonna be able to do stuff for me that day, or that's her day to work on her
Exactly.
stuff.
My
So.
husband knows Tuesday is podcast day.
Right, yeah,
He's like, okay, I'm going to Fleet Farm. I said, great, have fun. I'm doing a podcast.
yeah.
And he's like, so podcast today? I said, yep. So every day I call him on Tuesday, he knows it's the podcast day.
Yeah,
Just like we said, you set that side of
Yeah.
time, you set that time aside, and your
Yeah.
family gets used to it.
Yeah.
And you get used to it. It becomes part of your
Right.
routine. Because we committed, we're just like, we're gonna keep doing this podcast. So
yeah,
we chose Tuesdays.
yeah,
And we do it religiously every Tuesday.
Mhm.
And if we're gonna miss it, we do 2 on a Tuesday.
yeah.
Cause it's like, that's our day. That's
Yeah.
when we're doing it.
Yeah.
And it works really, really
It
well.
has worked really well.
So we're an example of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We don't
We
just
try to walk
talk.
our talk as much as we
Yeah,
can.
we don't just talk, we do it. I mean,
Yeah.
we use these strategies that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Obviously, you saw how excited I got when I talked about lists.
Yeah, yeah. A list master.
I am. They make fun of me about my lists at work, but they appreciate them, I tell you what.
Yeah. Okay, what are some other things? Focus.
I think one of the things that's really important is to remember to take breaks.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people, they're like, I gotta go, 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 go. But then they start to go slower and it starts to get harder and they try to push through rather than taking a break. So if you get to that point where you start to find to like hit a wall and you're like, oh man, I'm not getting anywhere right now, take a break.
yeah,
That's the time that your mind and your body and everything is telling you, just take a break. Take a break, do something else, get something to eat, get some water, do something else for like 15 minutes and then come back. You'll be so much more refreshed. You'll get
Yeah.
so much more done.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is giving yourself breaks because you need them.
Mhm.
We know that a person can only focus on one thing hardcore, usually for about an hour.
Mhm.
And that's when they usually hit a wall. So then go take a break after that hour because you will get so much more done. A lot of people think like,
Yeah.
oh, but I'm missing that 15 minutes, that 10-15 minutes. You're not. What you're doing is refreshing yourself so you can
So that
speed
you're
up
more
again.
productive.
Yes,
in
more
the
productive.
time You're doing it, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I learned a lot about that when we were studying law of attraction deep. When you start to feel bad or feel like you're stuck when you're working on something, always just take a minute and walk away. And then when you come back, it's so much easier because you're more in alignment again with it when you've gone and just take a little mind break and do something else and come back to it. Then, we always do things when you're feeling good.
Yeah.
Because if you start feeling sluggish or you start feeling like, oh, I wish I could just get this done, that's when you need to take a minute and just walk away for a couple
You
minutes.
need to lift yourself back up.
Yeah, yeah,
In order to really be able to
yeah,
get back in again.
yeah. And when if I'm creating art or something like that, I'll lose myself in it and
Mhm.
I work for hours at a time and forget, time slips away.
Right.
But that's another thing, it's totally different when you're doing that. Not always, because you might have a deadline on the project you're working on, but you can lose yourself. But if you're not feeling overwhelmed or frustrated or blocked in some way or stuck, then go for it, keep working if it still feels good to you, but if you get stuck and even just a minute to go stick your head out the door and breathe some fresh air or something. It can really make a difference.
And it does, but yeah, I get that way when I'm writing. I get hyper focused and I can just go.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden like, wow, I'm really hungry.
Yeah.
How long has it been? It's been
Right.
4 hours or whatever. Oh, maybe I'll take a break and go eat something and come
Yeah.
back and then I
Yeah.
go again, so it's really about like taking that time to refresh. And it will really help you be more productive. And that's a thing that people worry about, is not being productive when they have the time set aside. Well, that's one thing, is making sure you're taking breaks while you set that side of time,
Right.
so that you can keep going.
Yeah.
But another piece that a lot of people tend to do is they tend to try to multitask. It's known that humans can only really do one thing at a time. You might think you're really good at multitasking. I think I'm really good at multitasking. But what we're good at is shifting focus, not necessarily multitasking.
Right.
So if you are, let's say, watching TV while you're trying to work, you're going to be probably 50% less productive than you're going to be if you just focus on your work, get it done, and then you go watch your TV show.
Yeah.
So think about the things. Are you on your phone? Are you talking to people?
Yeah.
Are you, watching a program? Are you, what are you doing? Or are you just focusing on your project? Especially for us that are self-employed. It's super important that we're able to focus and get that project done, because we have such a limited time to work anyway. I mean, if we're working multiple jobs, multiple businesses,
Right.
I have that time set aside. I'm going to dedicate that time to that, get it done. And it's going to feel so good, because I'm going to get so much accomplished in that time, because that's the only thing that I'm focused on. So think about that. Are you trying to multitask? Which means you're basically shifting focus the whole time, which means that you're not really getting as much done as you could have.
Yeah.
Or as fast.
I used to be pretty much a workaholic when I was younger and my kids were little. And I was always, when I was at work, I was always thinking about being with my kids. When I was with my kids, I was always thinking about work. And when I figured that part out, to be present where you're at the time, it made my life and my brain feel so much better, because I loved my work. And I also loved being with my kids and doing stuff with them. And I started to just focus where I was at the time. And that helped me so much. It helped me not, to think, oh, I shouldn't work overtime, whatever, but when I focused on my work and could get a lot more done in the time I was there, and I would work overtime when they were at sporting, at their practices or whatever, then I would go do my overtime. And it was so much better than to be, always wishing you were somewhere else, wherever you were, because it didn't matter what I was doing at first. I was always thinking I should be somewhere else. But when I started to just focus and be present where I was, it really, really helped. So tip to you moms out there. Most of the time you can figure it out, so you can be more present in where you're at.
Yeah, and I think it's just an important tip in general, is to be present where you are, doing what you are, and being in that moment. I mean, that's such a big thing for not only getting things done, but also for your life, being present for your life. And that also is that space of receiving, when you're present right now. There's no before, there's no after. You're just in that moment feeling good, because you're just focused here now. There's no other moments, there's no other things to worry about or things to do. It's just now. And that's a point of relief for a lot of people, that they struggle with being in right now. They're thinking about all the other things.
Yeah, I love it. What else?
We did a lot of these.
We have a list, we do have lists, thanks to Carissa.
You know what? I made the list. Isn't that great? It's so helpful.
It is really helpful. It's keeping us on track. So let's see. we did talk about a lot of them already.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of them, and we went really through
Mhm.
a lot of that.
Here's one, assign days of the week for errands to prevent last minute scrambling. That's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, we live in I mean, it's not a big city, but it is for our state. It's the biggest city in our state, I guess. But compared to other places around the country, it's not a big city. But, you know, it can take an hour to go do your shopping list, or
Yeah.
to run to Walmart, or to run to Costco, or whatever. No matter what, there's traffic now that we never used to really have to worry about.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, there's
Easier
traffic.
now,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
And so you have to plan ahead a little bit and make a list of the things you need throughout the week, so that you can go one day and you're not running all constantly after work to the store or whatever. And then you don't get home till 9 o'clock to make supper, and you know, if you plan those, and okay, Tuesday afternoons aren't so busy at Costco, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go that day.
Right.
So make a list during the week, you know, and I'm really good about doing the list for that. And, you know, every time I run out of something, I write it on my list, and
I have a grocery list on my phone. I have
Good
Samsung
plan.
Notes, and I love it. I have Samsung Notes and I have folders.
yeah,
So if I need my grocery list, I know exactly where it is, and I
That's
keep
awesome.
adding things to it throughout the week.
yeah,
That way I don't have to worry about losing a piece of paper, because like my husband will write on a piece of paper, then he'll forget the piece of paper, and then
Right.
he'll like, what do we need? And I'm
Right.
like, I don't know, because I'm not home, I don't have the list, but here's the things I remember from the list, you know, so you have it on your phone, it's right
Yeah.
there. Even take a picture of it if you write it
Right,
down.
I started doing that, take a picture of the list that's on the counter. So, you know, usually I just tear it off and stick it in my pocket.
Yeah,
But,
if you remember it.
yeah, yeah,
But here's the
but a
thing,
lot of times
if you're
I leave it
overwhelmed,
sitting there.
are you gonna be remembering a list that you
Right.
left on the counter? Probably not.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why we have technology.
I
It's
know, I'm trying to
wonderful.
get more.
Oh, we're getting
on
techie.
my
We're getting
phone.
techie together, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a minute too.
Yeah, yeah. Another good one is to delegate tasks when appropriate to decrease your workload. So,
Yes.
you know, everyone that lives at your house can pitch in a little bit.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be you doing everything. And I know sometimes moms are control freaks and they like to do everything because then it gets done correctly.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's better to just have it done than to
Right.
worry about if it's done your way or not.
Right.
And, you know, you can have your kids, and it's good for them to learn how to do the dishwasher, how to throw a load of laundry. If you don't want them to wash your clothes, teach them to wash their own clothes.
How to
You
sweep
know,
the
how
floor.
to sweep the floor, do things. Growing up, I had to do chores. I
Oh, yeah.
had to feed the horses and the dogs and the cats, and
I don't remember a time not doing chores.
no, I don't either. We did stuff and we learned how to do stuff. But I was the oldest too, and had to take care of my siblings a lot of times. My sister, youngest sister, I don't know if she knew how to do laundry and stuff like that, because it was
Yeah.
done for her most of the times. But that's just, you know, that's one of the things of where you were born in your family too.
Right.
You know, but it doesn't hurt to have to do a few chores, you know, we always had to wash dishes after supper.
It's good though too, because it
It is
teaches
really good.
That teaches life skills that they'll need later.
Right,
You know, I've met a lot of adults and young adults that don't even know, well, what do I use to clean that? What do I buy to clean that? How do I use this mop?
right,
And it's just because they've never done it before,
Yeah.
and it's not their fault.
right,
It's just that there was no one to teach them, or they didn't learn, or you know, they didn't have a home to
yeah,
learn how to do that. And so, you know, if you have the ability to teach your kids those life skills, they're invaluable,
mhm,
because maybe they can help their roommates learn how to do that stuff, because
Right.
they might not know how to do that.
yeah,
And they can be independent, because we want all of our kids to grow up and be independent, amazing adults.
yeah,
And to be able to teach them that early, oh, it's just
Yeah.
the most beautiful thing. It really is. It's good for them, because they have to know how to take care of themselves, because you're not gonna come over and do their laundry. You're not gonna come over, Mom, come over, wash my dishes. Like, what? No, I'm not gonna come over and wash your dishes. You're like, 3 hours away, do your own dishes.
Right.
I don't know how to do my dishes. Well, am I gonna have to walk you over? You know, if you have to walk your kids through it as adults, you might want to consider that if their kids are still young. Do I
Right.
want to come over and do all their chores for them? No.
Yeah,
You
no.
want them to fly from the nest and be independent human beings, right? We
Yeah.
all want that.
And even if you don't want that, they're gonna come back sooner or later anyway. They're gonna ask you for, you know.
Oh, they're gonna ask you all sorts of questions
Yeah.
and how to do this and how to do that. And as they get older, they'll realize how much they didn't know.
Yeah, how
And
much
they thought that they knew,
didn't
but they didn't know.
pay attention, right?
Oh, yeah. I ask my
Yeah.
parents questions and stuff all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna be 40 this year. Hey, the big 4-0, I love it.
Yay.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of an aside, but that's, you know, it's a
Right.
great and wonderful thing.
Yeah, delegate some things, you know,
Let somebody else do
and
something.
most
for
of the
you.
time when you have people living in a household, they like to do different things, so pick the things that you don't mind doing, like I love to fold clothes. I love doing laundry, and it wasn't always that way, but now I love it, and same with dishes, I hated doing dishes. And then, when we got a dishwasher, it was like, oh, this is fun, I love dishes, you know, then it's like, oh, dishes is nothing now, it doesn't take anything to do dishes.
Yeah.
Throw them in the machine, it does it for you, you know? But, you know, we take things for granted a lot of times, so pitch in if you're in a household with more than just one person. And do the things that you don't mind doing. And
allow others to do the same.
right,
You know,
yeah,
sometimes you need help, and that's another thing is being asked to be able to ask for
Yeah.
help.
yeah,
Because sometimes you can't do all the things.
right,
Sometimes
Yeah.
there's just not enough time in the day, which means you probably need to delegate.
yeah, yeah,
What do the big wigs do and the CEOs and stuff? They
right,
decide these are the things that need to be done and they delegate to people that they know will do them well.
right, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to say, I need help. And it doesn't hurt to delegate a few things out of your list.
Doesn't. And if you need to redo one thing or two things, it's way less than you were gonna do in the first place.
Right, yeah.
You
yeah,
know,
Yeah, it's always good.
might be worth a shrunken sweater to not have to do everybody else's laundry.
Unless it was your favorite sweater, but.
Don't let them do your favorite
Yeah.
sweater.
Hide your clothes that you don't want anyone else to wash but you.
Yes, there,
Yeah.
that's another idea. Hide it in the different hamper. If
Right.
somebody else is doing the laundry.
Yeah.
I
That's
think,
good.
you know, another thing, is to really make sure that to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Make sure you're giving yourself grace. And the fact that you're not gonna do perfect, you aren't gonna be perfect, and there's gonna be some things that sneak down on your priority list, but at least you're gonna still have them all there. And to let yourself know, okay, it's okay. I didn't accomplish all of the things that I wanted to today, but I did get these things done.
Mhm.
And I know that I worked hard and I gave it my all.
Right,
And so I can allow myself to be like, okay with that.
yeah, yeah. And you can go through your list if you're overwhelmed with your list and say, okay, none of this is life or death.
Mhm.
You know, 9 times out of 10,
Right.
9.9 times out of 10.
That's why you have the priority
It's
of the
not.
one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so give yourself grace and move some things to your next day list or your next week list, you know, you don't have to get everything done. Right
It'll be
now.
there tomorrow,
Right, right.
you know?
And
what-
nobody
yeah.
really cares if you got it done or not, probably.
No, and think about this, like, one thing is, you know, a lot of people worry about, let's just do like a typical thing, dinner.
Mhm.
Let's say you're
Yeah.
running low on time, you don't have enough time to make dinner. Well, you pick up a dinner.
Mhm.
And then if you know they don't have lunches for tomorrow, well, it's like, well, tomorrow we'll buy lunch. And then I'll make dinner the next day. I'll make sure something's out so I can cook it the next day.
Right,
You know,
Yeah.
so it's like sometimes, even if it's something that seems like it's super important, there's always a solution. There's always something else that you could do. And to allow yourself to be like, okay, I'm not perfect. And that's great.
yeah,
Because if I was perfect, I'd be a very boring person.
right.
And no one would want to be around me because my perfection would shine so high. But here's the thing, is like we're all, you know, just doing the best that we can with what we have.
Yeah.
And to allow yourself to know And it's okay. It's okay that I didn't get everything done today. It's okay, but I know that tomorrow I'm gonna start again and I'm gonna do my best again.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna still have my list and I'm still gonna accomplish as much as I can. And then the next day I'll do the same, because you can only do your best from where you're at.
Mhm.
And you just need to forgive
That's right.
yourself
Yeah.
for the times that you can't accomplish everything and anything and everything for everyone.
Right. Yeah, that's good. I just looked at, learn to forgive yourself for an imperfect day. Don't sweat the small stuff. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it's all small stuff.
it is. It is. Sometimes our brain makes us think things are so much more important than they are.
Sometimes
Just-
we make mountains out of molehills.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lighten up, buttercup.
Yeah, and realize, are you doing that? Are
Yeah.
you making a mountain
Yeah.
out of a molehill? Maybe
Yeah.
consider that.
Yeah. Yep, and if it feels good, do it. If it doesn't, then save it for the next day. Unless you have a definite deadline, then sometimes you gotta just buck up and do it.
It's true.
When, speaking of the list thing, sometimes if there are things on that list, there's always tasks that you really hate doing or you don't wanna do it. I do those first. And instead of leaving them, if I leave them on my list and save them to last, it'll drive me crazy because I just will regret everything I'm doing because I'm getting closer.
And you'll avoid
that
those
thing.
things.
Yeah,
You're avoiding them. Yeah.
Exactly. So if I do them first and get them done with, I get so much more done and I feel so much better.
They're not on your mind anymore.
Right,
It's
that's-
done. And then you
yeah.
can start doing the things that you do enjoy more.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's one of my huge little tips is to do the things you don't want to do first. And then it's easier. And a lot of times you'll be doing it and think, why was I so worried about this? Or this isn't so hard. You make it harder than it has to be a lot of times.
Right. Because you're avoiding it because you don't like it.
Yeah.
And then you're just dwelling on it.
Yeah.
And it's creating more stress than you really need. So
Right.
if it's done, then it's done. And then you're like, oh, thank goodness it's done.
Now what can I do?
I know exactly which tasks I'm thinking about when we're having this conversation, because I was
Yeah.
working on those like most of my day today. My
Oh.
least
Least
thing.
favorite things, yeah.
It's okay. I'm getting them accomplished, and it does
Yeah.
feel better to have some of those things accomplished.
Yeah, it really does.
Mhm.
Yep. Anything else? I
Yes.
think, is there?
Yes. One of our favorite things these
Oh,
days.
Yeah, yeah.
Is using tools to automate tasks and using technology and templates and
Almost
things.
forgot, yes.
I mean, that's one thing that we've been working on a lot
Mhm.
lately, and we have like our favorite tool ever that we've ever discovered, and we're having
Right.
so much fun using that to help us with our businesses, to help us with our lives, to help us in our creating.
Mhm.
And it's just amazing. And so that's one thing, is finding those tools that you can use to automate and make things,
Yeah.
routine tasks more productive, and you can be faster and you can get this together and that together, and it just works more seamlessly than trying to accomplish everything yourself.
Yeah, yes, there are so many fun new tools and technology that can help our days click by, just, get things done a lot faster, so you have more free time to do the things that you love to do. So if you want to know about a list of our stuff that we use, let us know. Comment down below.
Yeah, my productivity is like 500% at this point, since
Yeah.
we've discovered our tools that we
Yeah,
are using right now. And it's so exciting because it's like, I can accomplish in 2 hours what it would take me a week to do sometimes,
Mhm.
especially for like business, social media posts and marketing and all that different kind of stuff.
yeah,
And one thing that I love too is being able to bring what's in my mind to life.
yeah, yeah.
And then like that's possible now, and
Right.
that's so amazing. So if you guys want to
Yeah.
learn more about those tools, I'm sure we're going to talk about those more and more
Yeah,
as we go along. But if you want to know more now, just send us a message or make a comment, and we'll fill you in and maybe even show you some of the tools that we're doing, give you a little demo.
yeah, yeah. So I think we've covered everything on our list now.
We've covered most of the things on our list, and we've given you a lot of really good tips. If you want to know more tips or you have ideas you want to share
Yeah,
with people, write down in the comments and then we can all kind of have a
Right.
conversation about it. Cause I'm sure you have good ideas and things that you're used to. And this is, certainly not a comprehensive list. It's a good list, but it's not a comprehensive list. And there's
Yeah.
so many things that can help you to have time management and avoid feeling overwhelmed during
Yeah.
your day. So we want to
Yeah.
hear from you too.
Yeah, use some of the things we've talked about, and anytime you get overwhelmed, just take a step back. Walk around the table, walk around the house, walk around the block, whatever you gotta do, just take a minute and refocus, and you'll come back better than ever.
Yeah, remind yourself it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I will get this done
Yeah.
and it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. Awesome. Carissa, where can we find you on the interwebs?
On the interwebs.
I haven't
You-
said that for a couple
I know,
weeks, I
it's
don't
so
think.
fun to say. Well, you can find me on Facebook at Light of Hope Healing. You can find us collectively on Facebook at Our SoulSpace. And
Yeah.
then I have a square site, which is light-of-hope-healing.square.site. Light of Hope Healing is a bunch of dashes in between it, .square.site. And I did mention earlier, so I'm starting a brand new course this week. It's called Unleashing the Power of Crystal Energy, Crystal Healing Secrets to Uplift Your Life, or Up-Level Your Life, I should say.
Awesome.
Uplift, up-level, same thing. And it's going to be an amazing course. So if you want to get a ticket, I'll put a link below this where you can
Awesome.
find your tickets, but it's on my Square site. So if you remember my Square site that I just said, you can find it on there, or go to my Facebook site, Light of Hope Healing, which is probably much easier to find it out. So I have
Much easier to remember.
ticket links there.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then Tracy, where can we find you on the interwebs?
It's easy, inspiredsignals.com. All my links are there. I have a page that just has my links on it, and different things that I love, so go on there and you'll be able to find everything. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, a little bit on TikTok. I'm trying to work on that, and I have a YouTube channel too, besides our SoulSpace.
Right. And then you can find us on YouTube,
Yeah.
which is where we're originally posting this. So
Right.
if you hear us anywhere else,
Yeah.
we also have our YouTube channel, which is SoulSpace Podcast.
Yes, easy peasy to remember.
Yep, at SoulSpace Podcast. It's easy to find us.
Yeah, yeah. So we will see you next week with some fun tips and tricks or something.
Yeah,
Something.
something. Okay, we'll
Have
see
a
you
good
guys
rest
next
of
week.
your week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.